Welcome to Retiring Well. We're back out on location today at the pickleball courts. Many of you have expressed how you love the game of pickleball, and we see it's one of the most rapidly growing sports in America right now, year after year, and it's something fun for all ages. So what better way to talk about pickleball and finances?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the changing times, just like we're talking about with pickleball, but how that affects the market, the different tools of the game. What does that look like not only in pickleball, but investing? Talking about the kitchen. You want to stay out of the kitchen. So what are those areas that you could get into trouble in retirement? And then lastly, your coach. So all this and much more coming up right here, right now on Retiring Well.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well, plan to retire well.
So as we talked about, on location here at the pickleball courts here in beautiful northern Michigan, and talking about the changing times. With pickleball, like many sports, it evolves over time, and really, from a sporting perspective, pickleball is pretty new. You know, some of you probably are just hearing about it, maybe in retirement or something like that, but it actually started in 1965 in Bainbridge Island, Washington. Three fathers had come back from playing a round of golf, and they were looking for something to keep their kids entertained. They had a badminton net, and they had some miscellaneous sporting equipment laying around, and they kind of come up with this game of pickleball. Rules evolved over time. By 1990, people were playing it actually nationwide, and over the last few years, it's one of the most popular, if the not most popular, sport that's out there. So as the game evolved, it's kind of been a combination of things, and as a sport, again, times change, rules change, all of that sort of stuff. You know, and we're here today on the courts and playing a little bit of this. Maybe you've played before, and you can see how this is different than tennis. A lot of people resorted to that, or ping pong, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, things change a lot like your own finances.
Yeah, that's where I circle back to bringing this into investing and going way back and thinking about, okay, originally starting with different stocks and how you could invest in the stock market and how that's evolved then gradually bringing in different mutual funds. So you've got a combination or a pool of different stocks into a mutual fund, or maybe it's a pool of different bonds into this fund. So you'd hold this one position, but you'd have diversification built within there. And then you've seen things change more to the exchange traded funds, or ETFs, if you hear that term. That's where, again, they've been able to track different indices in the market. So whether that's the S&P or the NASDAQ or a large variety of different indices to bring in that diversification of your portfolio. And then going beyond that, you might even get into, they call them like separately managed accounts. So this is where sometimes you can bring in a multitude of different exchange traded funds, maybe mutual funds, maybe it's bringing in individual stocks where it's managed by professional money managers, and potentially there's more of an active style where they're going to be making adjustments to the portfolio depending on what's going on with the market. So as you're maybe seeing, the growth sector of the stock market is really booming, maybe it's more heavily weighted that way, and then things shift more to a value perspective where the dividend types of stocks might be of greater value at that point. So again, there's a lot of changes that happen within investing, and that's where you want to make those adjustments within your portfolio. So as you're maybe younger, I think back to sports, and maybe you're willing to sacrifice your body a little bit more when you're younger and playing sports, and then as you get older, that's where we think pickleball is a great sport, where you may not have to run quite as much. You still have that lateral movement, but the same is true with your investments, where you may have been taking a lot more risk in your younger years, willing to really ramp up the growth of the portfolio. You may still want to have some of that within your portfolio in the later years, but maybe a bulk of it, maybe you're shifting more to protect and preserve and generate some income during those retirement years.
Absolutely. And when you think of retirement and that changing times, I also think of taxation. You know, when we're working and we're contributing to our 401ks and our IRAs, deferral is often the name of the game, right? That's what we're taught. Defer our taxes to potentially a later date in life where we may pay a lower rate or our taxes would be less. So as that time comes, that changing times, and now we're there, now we're in retirement, what do? Well, we're probably realizing some of those deferrals that we've done over the years. Now we're paying those taxes. But is it just accepting that? Not necessarily. Again, having that tax plan and those changing times of that. Also, as if you're younger and you're taking those chances like John talked about, sacrificing your body, sacrificing your finances, consider looking at other options earlier in that. We don't just have to accept what the world has been telling us sometimes with deferral. Maybe it makes sense to be looking at Roth accounts and stuff like that. Health insurance, as times change, we're probably going to be going on Medicare at some point. Again, planning for that in the future and all that. Wills, trust, estate planning. Again, times change and we need to have plans in place to take care of those things for you and for your survivors and loved ones and all of that. So hopefully you found this valuable. The fun here in the pickleball court isn't just for pickleball, it's also for your finances as well.
Every success story starts with a plan. The success of your retirement depends on a solid financial plan. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, we invite you to an informative live event to help you plan to retire well. There is no cost and no obligation, and dinner is on us. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial professionals, specializing in retirement planning and serving all of northern Michigan, with offices in Traverse City, Gaylord, Petoskey, and Cadillac. Our presentation will address pressing questions such as, how will the presidential election impact my investments? What can I do to protect against inflation in retirement? Am I tax diversified? How can I maximize my Social Security benefits? Will my assets be properly protected when I pass away? And much more. Call 888-608-5825 or register online and choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, October 22nd at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. Tuesday, October 22nd at Kirkland Community College. Wednesday, October 23rd at Bluefish Kitchen and Bar in Manistee. Thursday, October 24th at Boyne Mountain Grand Lodge in Boyne Falls. Tuesday, October 29th at Blue Cow Cafe in Big Rapids. Or Wednesday, October 30th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. The live event starts at 6:30 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and tends to fill quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or register online to reserve your seats today. Don't miss this important live event to help you plan to retire well.
All right, well, let's dive right into the different tools of the game. So pickleball can be pretty basic. You've got your paddle, you've got the ball, you've got the net, which I've seen you can even buy like portable nets that you can put up in your driveway. And so it's pretty quick and easy to get into the game from a cost perspective. That's where then you get into the different paddles. And here we are, I'd classify us as beginners. Is that fair, Art? So
I think for sure.
As we looked online, we saw, okay, paddles range from $10 a piece to upwards of over $300. So we're not going to be spending a whole lot of money on the paddles and everything. But again, there's a whole variety of levels from beginner to advanced, and that's where then, you know, we're talking about these tools of the game. How does that apply to investing though, Art?
Yeah, when I think of tools to the game, you know, often in this financial industry, we have tools available to us, right? There's numerous types of tools and what that is, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But often I think that this industry looks at this backwards. You know, we want to sell you a tool, you know, and you know, oftentimes maybe you've sat down with these individuals before and they've presented to you a fancy spreadsheet or a brochure that they're presenting this tool to you that you just have to have. This is going to solve all of your problems. Like John talked about with the expensive paddle, is that going to make me a better pickleball player if I have a $300 paddle versus a $10 paddle? Probably not. You know, my skill level is still the same. I just maybe got a fancier looking paddle or something, and I can brag about that I paid more money, but I'm still going to hit it into the net or, you know, do something that I'm probably not supposed to. With investing, I'd rather see people take a different approach and think of this in your own situation. When you sit down with that financial advisor and we start talking about your retirement, it shouldn't start with tools in mind. It should be goals, strategies, and tools. And specifically goals. When this conversation happens, it's really diving into, what do you want to do in retirement? What does that look like? Every single person we've talked to over the years, thousands of different retirees or people thinking of retirement, all have a different goal in mind, something specific they may want to do. Maybe it's travel. Maybe they want to see the world. They want to take a cruise. They want to see the national parks. Whatever that may be, maybe travel's their focus. Maybe it's just relaxation. They've had a stressful job their whole life and you just want to relax. Maybe it's grandkids, something you want to spend all this time with them. You've worked away many years and you want to just enjoy your family. Whatever that is, that should be the very first thing that's talked about in any financial plan, is what are we trying to accomplish? When are we going to do this? And all these different important things that's specific to you.
Right, so you're starting again with those goals. Now we're going to shift more to, okay, what are the strategies to help you accomplish those goals? So if it's a matter of, hey, I want to make sure that this money lasts for my retirement, okay, well, you got to start with an income plan and you have to then map out. It seemed like it used to be, okay, plan for maybe 20 years of retirement. Well, people are living longer, so, and determined on, depending on when you retired, okay, what is your life expectancy? And it's tough to know that, but you have to plan to ultimately maybe live to age 100. So mapping out that income plan, factoring in inflation, when to draw Social Security is going to be vital. Then it's talking through the different investment strategies. There's a large pool of investments that you can choose from, and how to structure those. So important is understanding your risk tolerance. I think too often we see people that come into the office and tell us, well, I'm a pretty conservative investor. I don't want to take a lot of risk. Meanwhile, we look at their portfolio, run an analysis, and you quickly find, well, you've got 70% of your portfolio is in stocks, which could lose 30, 40, 50% if the market doesn't cooperate. So you want to be aware of what sort of risk you're taking. Going alongside with your income plan, taxes are vital. I think this is an area that too often people are falling short of planning. They're not really taking into consideration their retirement accounts, as 401ks, IRAs are typically the largest asset you have in retirement, and what sort of impact taxation is going to have as you draw that money out over your lifetime. So again, taxes are vital. Then we're diving into insurance, understanding life insurance, health insurance, long-term care insurance. How does that play a role in your overall planning? And lastly, the estate planning, wills, trusts, power of attorney, ladybird deeds. What does that all mean, and how does that come into play? And so again, you want to have that cohesive plan that looks at all these different strategies and best fits what your goals are, and then followed up lastly with then the tools. Again, as Art referenced at the beginning, too often advisors will start first with the tools and then try and push them into what your goals or strategies might be, but the tools should come in last. And so when you're thinking of that overall cohesive retirement plan, again, think through what are your goals, then follow up with what are the strategies to put in place, and then lastly, okay, what are the appropriate tools that fit those goals and strategies. So if you have questions about that, you're unsure of what direction you're going currently with your retirement plan, we encourage you to give us a call here at Centennial Wealth Advisory.
Every success story starts with a plan. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, we invite you to an informative live event to help you plan to retire well. Our presentation will address pressing questions such as, how will the presidential election impact my investments? What can I do to protect against inflation in retirement? Am I tax diversified? How can I maximize my Social Security benefits? Will my assets be properly protected when I pass away? And much more. Call 888-608-5825 or register online and choose the date and location that works best for you. The live event starts at 6:30 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and tends to fill quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or register online to reserve your seats today. Don't miss this important live event to help you plan to retire well.
Like many things in life, including most sports, there's rules of the game, right? And one of the things that caught my attention the first couple of times I played pickleball was the kitchen. You know, stay out of the kitchen, and everybody kind of kept referencing this sort of thing. So what is that, and why do you need to be staying out of that, and can you get in trouble for it? So it's a 7-foot area, 7-foot deep area that you need to stay out of. That's the no volley zone when it comes to pickleball. First, what's a volley? Well, that's hitting the ball before the bounce. So you can't come up and just smash the ball in this 7-foot area or you get into trouble, right? That's part of the main rules of that. And there's reasons why that's there. It helps the game move along. It takes, you know, helps the interaction, I think, between both teams be better. And also, there are exceptions to a rule, right? When you are allowed to be in the kitchen and stuff like that. So there's multiple pages in the Picklebook rule book when it comes to the kitchen, but you are allowed to come in if the ball touches there. Those short, soft shots that do hit down there, you're allowed to come into there. You can be in there if you're playing doubles and your partner hits it behind you and you don't touch the ball, you're allowed to be in there as well. But again, the main point of this is there's rules to the game. This kitchen is one of the things I think you hear most about with that, and there's exceptions to the rule of that, just like when there's rules to investing, and where can we get into trouble when it comes to investing?
Yeah, so true, Art. I mean, that's what I think of when we first learn the game, the kitchen. Oh, that's where you get into trouble, is going in the kitchen and everything. But when it comes to investing, I think primarily where investors get into too much trouble is taking on too much risk with their portfolio when they get to close to retirement or into their retirement years. As we've referenced before, we can run an analysis at Centennial Wealth Advisory, help you better understand what sort of risk you're taking with your portfolio, and is that something you're comfortable with. And so that's a lot of times with investing, how your attitude plays a key role when it comes to taking on risk. Along with that, lack of diversification. We've come across a few folks where they've got a heavy concentration in one or two maybe stocks that they fell in love with, and maybe they've performed really well for them over the years, but it is one of those areas where you want to be cautious with that, and you want to make sure you have a diversified portfolio, not just a blend of different stocks. You want to look at not only the stocks, the bonds, the mutual funds, exchange traded funds, whatever that might be, but then what are some of those other areas, whether that's working with the banks or working with insurance companies, and what sort of different tools that they provide to help provide you some further diversification.
And when John talks about that and all these diversification investments, having an actual plan. You know, people tend to get in trouble if they don't have an actual retirement or financial plan. Think of this, you know, your 401k statement is not a plan, it's a statement. So having this full in-depth plan that you actually understand, not some 90-page document you're never going to look at, but what is the income, what is the investments, what is your tax, estate, insurance, all these sort of things actually have together that work cohesively together. Withdrawing and ignoring yourself from taxation. Remember, retirement plans are often taxable. We got a tax deferral when we put money into these plans, and if you're just going to flat ignore taxes and not work that into your financial distribution plan or contribution plan, you're going to hurt yourself long term with that, causing yourself to pay greater amounts in taxations. As an example, think of right now when we turn 73 years old, you have something called required minimum distributions. Those are forced distributions of a certain percentage of your pre-tax IRA 401k balances. And so with that being said, we want to have plans in place to allow those. If you start taking too much money out, you can get yourself in trouble, right? Withdrawal rates too high. Your plan can really fail on you very quickly if we start to see those balances going down over time. So again, keep all those things in mind when you have your financial plan so you don't get in trouble.
Yeah, and one of the last areas that I'd say, especially when it comes to your retirement plan, is making sure that those debts that you've accumulated over your lifetime, you try to pay those off as best as you possibly can. You want to be able to walk into retirement with a limited amount of debt, ultimately, so that way it keeps your expenses low. It can keep that cash flow working best for you. So as you're evaluating all this, and we're talking about being in the kitchen and getting into trouble, think through your retirement plan, and have you solved all those different areas where you think there might be trouble. Feel free to give us a call here at Centennial Wealth Advisory.
If you are nearing retirement or already retired, we invite you to an informative live event to help you plan to retire well. Call 888-608-5825 or register online and choose the date and location that works best for you. The live event starts at 6:30 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and tends to fill quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or register online to reserve your seats today. If you like watching Retiring Well, make sure to go to youtube.com/retiringwell and click the subscribe button to never miss any of our TV shows and other informative videos.
Art and I are here enjoying a nice game of pickleball. I think Art's beating me right now, but that's all right. I'm coming back, and that's where I think of when you look at pickleball in the sport, there's a ton to learn about the game, and we've only brushed the surface, I think, at this point as we're trying to pick up things on our own. Of course, you hear of like YouTube channels and how they teach you all these different ways of the game, and so you can go out and ultimately do that on your own. Try and pick things up, try and learn and understand and all the different terminology, and I will say scorekeeping is a bit of a challenge for us still, figuring that one out, but there's a lot to take on. Or there's an alternative option. You can go out, hire your own coach here in Northern Michigan. There's a number of people that have become certified, and now you can bring them onto your team and basically say, okay, I want to understand whether you're at the beginner level all the way up to advanced and you want to compete in tournaments. There are coaches available to you where you can really start to learn the game and compete at a higher level.
Absolutely, John. And when I think of this, I don't think you're going to be hiring either one of us to be one of those pickleball coaches, but you may want to consider that from a financial advisor perspective. Like a coach, a financial advisor comes alongside of you and teaches you and helps you prepare for the unknown that you have. You know, a long time ago, a great individual had a saying with us. He says, you don't know what you don't know. And oftentimes I think of that when it comes to pickleball, and then obviously with financial advising for a lot of people. So when you're looking for that financial coach, that financial advisor, you want to interview them. You have questions you want to ask. You want to make sure what your goals align with what their services they're offering. Remember earlier in the show we talked about goals, strategies, and tools? You know, this is going to be that place where it fits in, making sure that financial advisor is talking about your goals, that they're not just trying to push a tool that they want to sell you. So again, making sure of that. Just like coaches with pickleball, there's beginners all the way to advanced when it comes to financial advising. There's advisors out there that specialize in helping people get started. You know, when you're younger, in your working years, maybe just contributing to that 401k, there's advisors that specialize into that. And there's folks like us out there, we specialize in a great deal of things, but specifically with retirement planning and helping you plan to retire well. For whether that's 10 years away from retirement or already in retired, we have a skill set that we design and work together with our team to help you do that and build that retirement plan so you can live the years that you most want to during that time. As an example, again, you've done and you've grown and you've accumulated all these assets. Now it's time to protect them and it's time to live off of them. Again, pickleball coaches, they're going to help you get to different levels. As John mentioned, you can go and research some of this, spend the time on your own, learn it, but that's going to come with challenges along the way. Find that financial coach, that financial advisor that can partner with you to help you get that success you desire.
Yeah, and so maybe you're in that position where you're saying, okay, I've not worked with a financial advisor. What are some of those questions that I should be asking? And I would start first with sort of what are the different services you or your firm specialize in? What are you offering? And so a lot of times we find there's different licensing and things like that advisors need to have in order to be able to share different topics. So a lot of times we've talked to folks where they say, well, My financial advisor said if I wanted to talk about taxes, that you have to go talk to the accountant down the road. That's not anything that we can discuss. So with that, you know, your financial plan is missing a key piece of the overall portfolio. Another question maybe is, how willing is the advisor to adapt to your risk tolerance? Certain companies might have a set format of how they're going to structure pretty much every individual or every household that comes in to work with them, and they're going to build a plan that essentially is focused on what risk they're comfortable with. But what about the risk that you're taking? That's something you would want to see an analysis to sort of show, okay, best case scenario, worst case scenario. In a bad year, what sort of risk am I taking? And is that something that ultimately you're comfortable with because it's your money and it's your retirement?
As in with your retirement, you want your financial advisor to be around for that time, right? What is their succession period? What is their plan for this, for their career when it comes out, and how is it going to affect you and your individualized plan? Do they have somebody in line that's going to take over? What if they're older than you are? You know, how does that look? Is there somebody that's going to be along, or a team that they're working with? Those are questions, again, to ask as you're interviewing that. So like a pickleball coach, you know, financial advising, big decision in life, probably a little bit bigger than a pickleball coach. Sure. But when we get down to it and having that, make sure that financial advisor aligns with your goals and they working on strategies and tools to help you plan to retire well.
If you are nearing retirement or already retired, we invite you to an informative live event to help you plan to retire well. Call 888-608-5825 or register online and choose the date and location that works best for you. The live event starts at 6:30 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and tends to fill quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or register online to reserve your seats today.
57% of employees say that finances are the top cause of stress in their lives. This is one of many findings from a PwC survey. Human resources managers and business owners, we will partner with you to help your employees. At Centennial Wealth Advisory, we focus on education and the health of the whole person. We offer a complimentary financial wellness workshop with food provided for your team. We all want our employees to be productive at work, but most importantly, we want them to flourish in every area of their life.
Living life isn't always easy. It puts up challenges and obstacles you'll have to overcome. There are responsibilities. You put in effort to provide and take care of your family, and to save and invest, to balance work and life. Planning is the first step to succeeding. Plan to retire well.
The sports world is evolving, your retirement plan is as well, and it's time to adapt.
Give us a call at the number on the screen here, and we'd love to sit down with you at any of our Northern Michigan locations to help you plan to retire well.